I am the Highland scribe, Cheryl L. Hudson, storyteller. I am about to begin. Are you ready? I am the Highland scribe, scribe to the stones, to the winds, to the bloodlines that walk unseen. Come closer, closer still. The fire's warm, but this tale tonight, well, this tale runs wild. A tale of love and loss, of what runs still across the heather-covered hills, before the church bells rang throughout the lands, before iron-shod feet trampled sacred groves. There were places untouched, and people who lived in rhythm with the stone and the storm. North of Dunbrae, in a crook of the river, where birch trees leaned together, like gossiping women, lived a healer named Mary, and her daughter, Liath. Liath was wild in the way the sun is wild, brilliant, untamed, and too bright for those who feared what they cannot hold. She ran barefoot, she sang to the stones. Foxes followed her. The hawthorn trees would bend just a little when she passed. Her mother whispered to herbs, and Liath danced in the wind. The villagers came, of course, with their coughs and their aching joints, their fevers and dreams gone wrong. But they never stayed long. Not near them. Not near the witch and her daughter. Still, there was peace, of a kind, until the travellers came. The boy with the storm in his eyes. It was Beltane, the turning, the fire festival, the day when the veil between the worlds and the next wears thin and the heart is soft for the shaping. The travelling folk came with it, as they always did. They brought their music, their spice, their stories, and a boy, Cian. He was taller than most, hands callous from harp strings, hair as dark as a big bog oak, and eyes sharp like a storm. He saw Liath, first by the river, barefoot, her skirts wet from crossing the stones. She saw him leaning under the sycamore, whistling an old reel no lad his age should know. She smiled, and he winked, and just like that, something began. That Beltane week, the two of them were never apart. He showed her his fire tricks and how to turn a flame blue with salt and how to toss a spark from palm to palm. And she showed him where the earth sang, in the old stone rings and in the sacred well where the spirits gather. They shared apples and secrets and stories too deep for their age. And when no one watched, they carved their names into the back of an old birch tree down by the river. Cian and Liath, in Beltane's light. They kissed in the hollow under moonlight, and they lay tangled in the heather whispering dreams. She asked if he'd stay. He said, "I'll never leave." But Beltane passes, and so do promises. Soon after, the cattle began to die. First one, then three, then too many. Their eyes clouded, their bodies stilled. No wound, no rot, just lifeless. Whispers spread. The travellers were blamed at first, of course. They were outsiders and strangers and different gods. It always starts there. Some in the village threw stones, Others salted the travellers' camps. One set fire to the wagon. Fearing for their children, the elders, and their lives, they left, in the night, quietly. Except for one. Cian stayed. Well, he tried to stay. He packed nothing, hid under the old stone bridge, and waited for Laiath in the dawnlight. But his father found him, and dragged him away by his collar, spitting curses and warnings. He looked back only once, and saw her standing barefoot in the dew, hand over her heart, mouth open, eyes full. But she never said a word, not a goodbye, not anything. And then he was gone, and everything changed. With the travellers gone, and the cattle still falling, the village began to tremble. They turned their eyes to the woods, to the woman who spoke to the roots, the girl who ran barefoot and didn't flinch in a storm, the cottage where smoke curled like question marks. They whispered, "She dances too freely. She was seen at the Standing Stones. She was his, she bewitched him, and cursed the land with their sins." It was a dusk cloaked in mist when they came, not with shouting, not with war cries, but worse, with cold, quiet resolve. They carried torches, iron and rope. Laiath slipped from the cottage, and she ran, through the glen, past the creek, through the Standing Stones, and finally to the birch. Their birch, carved with their names and promises, and 1,000 days that never got to be. She turned. She placed her hand on the bark where her name touched his, and she whispered something. They caught her. What they did, no tale dared speak of it. But the earth knows. The birch still learns, and the bark split, its roots refusing to grow. They say Mary awoke as the final torchlight faded in the woods. She knew before she stepped outside, she found the grove. Her scream, the kind that tears worlds apart. It rippled through the stones. The birds stopped flying, and the wind recoiled, and the river turned still. Some say she offered herself to the old spirits under the hill that morning. But when dawn broke, Mary was gone. No body, no trace. Only a shawl left at the foot of the birch, and the echo of a voice still crackling through the skies. Just before sunrise, a white hare, larger than any wild thing in the glen, fur so pale it caught the gold of the morning like fire on snow, and her eyes, gods, her eyes, they weren't the eyes of a beast, they were hers, Laiath's. She ran through the fields, past the birch, through the places where love once lived, and those who saw her fell to their knees. They knew she would run, not for hours, not for days, but forever. Each Beltane morning she runs across the moors and hills, sometimes seen, sometimes felt, but always known. And if you see her, let her run. Place no snare and raise no bow. Let her pass and bless your land, but those who chase her do not return the same. The white hare of Dunbray is not a beast. She is what happens when freedom is hunted, when joy is punished, when love is taken before its time. She is what remains when no one speaks. For the girl in the heather, she just runs for all who are never allowed to stop running. So if you see her, place your hand over your heart and let her run. Let her run. Let her run. Sleep, light wanderer, for the old world still walks beside us, cloaked in shadows. I am the Highland scribe, scribe to the stones, to the winds, to the bloodline that walks unseen. And until the fire blazes once again, good night.